In this section, we're going to look at an alternate solution to the chunk problem. Now, as usual, we'll make a backup of our solution. So inside of my current index.js file, I'm going to copy my first attempt at chunk. I'll paste it down at the bottom of the file just for records, and I'll comment that one out. And then I'll clean up the original chunked function by deleting the contents, like so. Okay, so just like the previous section or the previous two lectures, in this video we'll look at this alternative approach. We'll take a break and then we'll come back and code up the solution, because I do want to give you the opportunity to attempt the solution with this other fashion if you want to. So let's get to it. All right, now knowledge of this second solution, like I said, it's a little bit harder to come at this solution on your own unless you are very familiar or have very recently, or at least have this function in mind, one particular function that has to do with arrays. And this function is called slice. So if we call letters.slice, so this is a function or a method that exists on all arrays, we can pass in some start index. So let's say a start index of 0, and then as a second argument, some end index. So maybe I'll put in 3 like so. So this says, starting at element 0, give me a copy, and that's very important. We are taking a copy of every element inside of letters from 0 to element 3, but not including element 3. So in this case, element 3 would be the letter D right here. So take everything from 0 up to element 3, but not including it. One very common mistake around slice is thinking that the second argument is the number of elements that we want to slice out of the array. That is not correct. If we change, say, this first element right here to a 1, we're now taking everything from element 1 up to, but not including element 3. So clearly the second argument is not a length here. If it was a length, then we would still see 3 elements inside our result over here. So with this slice method in mind, we can start to think of an alternative approach to the chunk problem. So again, we're going to kind of sketch this out with a diagram. And I know this is kind of sloppy to do it with the diagrams, but frankly, I can't do animations in, fancy Illustrator or what have you, whatever you would use to make illustrations. So I kind of like just drawing it out. Keeps it simple. So again, we're going to start off by creating an empty chunked array, and that's going to be our blue box right here. Then we're going to create an index variable. So just some random variable, we're going to call it index, and we're going to start it off at 0. We will then create a for loop, or excuse me, a while loop, and this while loop will run as long as index is less than our original array's length. And then here's where things get interesting. Inside this while loop, we are going to take a slice out of our original array, starting at index and ending at index plus size. We'll take a slice out of it, and then we will push that into our chunked array. So let's put some numbers to this thing. For the first go through, we're going to start off with an index of 0, and we have a chunk size of 2. So we're going to take a chunk size from 0 to 2, and we're going to put that into our array right here. So a slice from 0 to 2 on the green array would include everything from 1 to 2 right here. So we'll take that slice, it puts it into our chunked array. There's element 1, element 2. We then add size to index, so chunk size to index. So the second time around, we then restart our while loop right here. Index would now be equal to 2, and we then repeat the process. So we now attempt to take a slice from 2 to 4. And in this case, we don't have elements going up to 4, so it just gives us everything left inside the array. And we would end up sticking everything in like so. So I think as far as the code goes with this solution, it's probably far less code that we have to write, and there's really kind of less edge cases that we have to worry about. But it really does, it's all predicated on your knowledge of the slice method. If you're not familiar with slice in an interview setting, well, then this would be a hard one to kind of pull out of a hat and imagine. If you did come up with this solution, I gotta hats off to you, nice job coming up with this one, because this is definitely not a solution that I think I would come up with off the top of my head personally. So now that we have a better idea of how this works, let's take a quick break and then put together the implementation in the next section.